This is Comic Picks by the Glick.
Yeah, I'm your host, Jason Glick.
Hey, Jason Glick. Hey, welcome to 2022, man.
Yeah, it's like it feels kind of crazy to be here. It's like that we're here at all. It's like after 2021 was kind of the extended hangover from 2020.
So true indeed. So, with that being said, what are you going to talk about?
Well, it's like much sooner than we did last year. It's like it's going to be about the best of 20 best comics of that year because man, it's like it's like as crazy as last year was. It's like there was still a lot of good comics to read, and also just it's like when I was going over like my like stuff compiled off my list, I thought I was worried that like I've got some thoughts for like the very best stuff, but as far as everything else, what else do I have here? What else came out last year? And then like going through everything, it's like wow, it's like that's actually kind of a big list. I'm actually gonna have to make some choices here. So that so on one hand, it's good to see that there was lots of good stuff like from last year. There's also mediocrity as well, and there's also some crap as well, which we'll get to eventually. But but yeah, like there's definitely enough stuff like those that allowed me to complete a top 10 list for this year, as well as some honorable mentions, which just running down the list I got here. Stuff like Doctor Strange, Surgeon Supreme. It was Mark Waid and Kev Walker teaming up to tell us about Stephen Strange after he had managed to regain the use of his hands and become a surgeon again. And it turns out that it didn't actually make his life any easier. It's like but it also did make it more interesting, and especially with Walker handling the visuals, made it even more better to look at. Unfortunately, it's like because of COVID issues, like last year's, it only wound up lasting it's a 1 6 issue opening arc, and that was a shame. Also, there was Hiroki Endo's All Rounder Meguru, which may have lacked Flash as a it's like as a martial arts story about it's like about mixed martial arts fighting, including its title character who was just trying to find his way like in this like into some competitive sphere. But it also did a good job of just like showcasing the grounded like aspects of of MMA, while also just giving us like lots of interesting characters to like follow as well. Also from the manga sphere is some Dead Demons Destruction from Inio Asano. Now this is a series that didn't quite catch fire in the same way that some of his other series have in my mind, but the volumes he delivered this year, specifically volume 9, when we find out like one of the real reason that one of its main characters is um is the way she is, was pretty devastating, because volume 9 was really dark in its own ways, because not only did it deal with themes of like like dark themes involving like depression and suicide, but also it took one of the things we have in in romance and friendship, in the sense that how there's some character who feels that hey, it's like I don't care if the world is going to die, it's like or everyone's gonna be screwed after because of what I do, but I'm going to save you no matter what. And that's what happens here. Only once. Well, what initially seems to be like a really great depiction of friendship, basically seems to be dooming the world as a result. And I didn't quite see that coming, and that was really something to behold here. Even if it's just kind of like it's kind of like a ruin your day kind of like episode right here. Also from also when going back to Marvel for a second, is Christopher Cantwell and Salvador Lorca's Doctor Doom series, which concluded with its second volume here, which also did a great job of getting inside the villain's head and showing you why he is the way he is, how his drive to feel superior is just going to be the death of him and of anyone who tries to engage with them. Being aside from delivering one of the all-time great Richards moments, we also find out that he's just not willing to abide like any version of himself who is better than him. as well. There's also Grant Morrison and Yannick Paquette's Wonder Woman Earth One, which also wrapped up with this third volume here, and it didn't make the top 10 list because, well, this is basically the previous two volumes just relied on this third volume in order to make them work. You need to buy this series as it is in order to like in all three volumes in order to like really appreciate what it does here. And the short version is that it's like it shows you that by respecting like everyone's identity via race, gender, sex. It's like hey, this is how we all win in the end. And I think that I really like that about the series. It's like it was a moral lesson that I could really get behind, compared to other titles that maybe just were more about just shouting out the obvious stuff rather than showing it as Yannick as Paquette and Morrison did here. Also, I'm going to special mention to Hellions, which is like arguably like the secret best X-Men series going right now. While Hickman's X-Men like pushed like his narrative forward, it's like entertaining in unexpected ways, and while Jerry Dugan's like Marauders, it's like gave us like like a fun like piracy themed X-Men series. Hellions was the series that kind of pushed at the it's like at the bounds of what was acceptable in terms of X-Men, like how its characters were like were compromised, were actually working in the best interest of humanity, and also like giving us a great Mr. Sinister, who is just like the evilest drama queen. It's like all in it for himself, but also like suffering like because of how he just couldn't quite see all the angles here. It's great fun, and it's like and even though it's like wrapping up with like its third volume, it's like I wish we could have gotten more of it. But and also last but not least is a story that like it's like on one hand I would have liked to have included this in the top 10 because it's really like a great story like for the character it's talking about. That is Kieron Gillen and Jamie McKelvey's story from Batman, the latest Batman Black and White anthology, The Riddle. Because, well, it's like there's never such thing as a bad Batman Black and White anthology. This one maybe wasn't quite as great as the other as the ones that had come before. But Guylan and McKelvey's story here, which is a choose your own adventure story about Batman facing off against the Riddler, did a great job of nailing what makes the Riddler such a great Batman villain, and also just how his ideas about what about facing off against Batman work, and also in the sense that hey, if you're going to get to the real end of the story, well, you the reader have to be Batman as well. And it's something I showed to my sister's family, and they liked it, even if I had to tell them that in order to like to really beat the story, this is how you've got to do it. And as soon as I get a proper gathering in my place, I plan on foisting the story upon everyone else, just to see what they think about it as well, because it's really great. And if Guylan and McKelvey don't at least get an Eisner nomination for this story next year, then the process is well and truly broken. That being said, let's get on with the actual proper top 10 of 2021. And starting at the bottom, like the the least best of the stuff, but also still pretty great, as John will certainly attest to, is Keep Your Hands Off Azoken. This is a series that got an anime adaptation back in 2020 that made usually a lot of acclaim on Netflix, and Dark Horse picked up the manga license like to release in the US this year. It's like 2 volumes are released, with a third one forthcoming in another month or two. And it's a story about these three girls, these three misfits, who basically are trying to like form their own like anime club on campus. But it's also all about like the difficulty in when it comes to like making like creating something. What are you going to do in order? What kind of like compromises and decisions are you going to need to do in order to make something that's like that pleases you, and It's like and it's true to your beliefs. It's kind of like like a student's eye view of like the process of making anime itself, but it's thoroughly entertaining. The characters are are definitely likable, and there's a reason I bought this bought the first volume of this for two of my friends this year. And it's also the fact that, hey, it's like the series definitely needs it's your commercial support, because because I'm not sure if Dark Horse is going to be able to release another volume after volume 3, unless everyone goes out and buys more volumes of this right now. So, but but yeah, it was pretty great. I look forward to reading this third volume when it comes out. Next on the list, number 9, is also from Dark Horse, and I'll admit it's kind of a fudge because it wasn't actually released this year. It's like the latest edition of this was basically released by the company. This is Heart in a Box by Kelly Thompson and Meredith McLaren. It's about a girl whose heart is broken by her latest boyfriend, and she meets up with this mysterious guy who appears out of nowhere when she's lamenting her heartbreak, and he offers to to take her heart away, and so that she won't be able to feel as bad as anymore. You know, and stop me if you see this coming, but she agrees to this, and then she realizes that by giving her heart away, she can't feel anything. And so when she talks to this guy, says like, I want my heart back. She says, well, it's been divided up into pieces, and you've got to go and get them back. And you know what? There's bloodshed, there's murder, there's more heartbreak, there's betrayal, there's a lot of ugly, selfish and violent stuff that goes on in order for our main character to get her heart back. But it's like it all feels like it all feels kind of worth it, especially like the way that Thompson and McLaren present it as just, hey, like this is like she has to get her heart, this character our character has to get her heart back, and she's got to make some hard choices in order to do that. And but these choices are presented in a believable and as an emphatic way, in the sense that you understand why she's making these choices, even when they involve digging up a dead body, or just putting an axe into a guy's head. There you go. Next on the list, also involves a fair amount of bloodshed, but it's don't worry, it's the superhero, we're gonna kill a bunch of alien symbiotes kind of. And when I say symbiotes, yep, that means I'm talking about Donny Cates, Ryan Stegman and Friends Venom. Not only was Venom Beyond the it's a great what if style story that not only asks the question, what if Eddie Brock had killed himself, when he came to the church where Spider-Man tried to get himself away from his black costume back in the day. But what if his son Dylan didn't what if he didn't sacrifice everything in order to save Dylan in Absolute Carnage? That's a good what if Marvel story. But also the King in Black story was also pretty decent event story as well. But the real heart of this story was the final Venom 200 issue, where Cates basically showed us, hey, this is what Eddie Brock is doing now. And he's basically the king, the God Emperor of all symbiotes, living in an apartment in New York, trying to make sure his son has a good school life. It's great, classic Marvel style superhero setup and all. And it also does a good job of showing us how far Eddie has come since the start of Cates' run, which basically is unique amongst most modern superhero stories, in the sense that instead of breaking a character down, his run is all about building Eddie Brock back up into being a good a good solid human decent human being again. And I really enjoyed seeing that over the course of the story. Yeah, and I haven't read any Venom runs beyond this, But yeah, I feel confident saying that, hey, if this is like the one Venom story you need to read, you got to read this one. Okay. Next up though is a series that um that I know has been like, getting a lot of buzz lately, but I was not really expecting to like as much as I did. And that was the Department of Truth by James Tinian the Fourth and Martin and artist Martin Simmons. Tinian is someone who has not really impressed me with his superhero work at DC, mainly because he tends to follow a very conventional path, especially with his Batman Detective Comics run. But after hearing about this this series and how it was getting like so much like buzz and sales, I figured, okay, well, I'll give it a shot and see what it's like. And well, that this first volume really impressed me. Basically, it's all about like a Secret Service agent named Cole who basically gets like uh like th- like who is who specializes in researching conspiracies, but then finds out that there's much more to them than that when he's like I'm put on a plane and taken to the edge of the world, where it's like we find out that the world really is flat. There's a big ice wall, separating us from the void. But that's all because like conspiracies are now fully influencing reality, and there's another organization called Black Hat that seeks to exploit humanity's willingness to believe these things. Standing between Black Hat and in Oblivion is the Department of Truth, the department of United States government that is basically all about you know wep- um like determining what is real and weaponizing that belief to a certain extent. And who's leading it? Well, none other than Lee Harvey Oswald, the same guy who just to declare that he was a patsy in the in the murder of JFK. And in the first volume specifically, Tinian does a great job of explaining why America is so susceptible to conspiracies. It's and also just showing you how Cole kind of gets sucked into working for this division, and also how his history also has is also some special meaning to them as well. I didn't put this higher on the list because I think that the second volume doesn't quite have the same magic as the first. In the sense that the second volume definitely has its moments. This is in a story about how one guy's quest to find Bigfoot dominated his life and drove him apart from his wife and his kids. But it kind of felt like Tinian and Simmons were leading us by the nose for a good portion of that volume. But still, this is definitely a series that's worth reading, and it's so much better than his best-selling series, Something Is Killing the Children, which it's just does a standard monster. There's a monster out there and it's wants to kill people, specifically kids, but doesn't actually do anything new with that premise. Department of Truth does. It's like and and I'm really interested in seeing where things go from here. Next up on the list is also another Image series, Reckless, Friend of the Devil. Um, Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips had a banner year last year, to the point where their first Reckless book, something I was thoroughly primed to enjoy, wound up being just the least good um like thing they released last year. I mean, I liked it and all, but it wasn't quite the home run that Pulp and the collected edition of their criminal issues, Cruel Summer was. Friend of the Devil, however, was definitely everything about I liked about the first volume, only done that much better. It's like we had a great setup in the sense that that our main character Ethan Reckless gets a new girlfriend, and things are going great with them until his girlfriend sees that one of the background girls in one of his cult films is actually her sister, her sister who disappeared years ago, and into the Hollywood of the 70s. And now Ethan has to go and track her down. What he finds is it's a bad nightmare of sex, of sex cults. It's devil worship and Nazis. That is just that's just terrible for all parties involved. I mean, you really can't go wrong with anything that Brubaker and Phillips do, but Friend of the Devil is basically like, hey, it's like if you weren't 100% on board with Reckless, before with the first volume, then yeah, it's like volume 2 will definitely get you there. But it's not the best. Okay, well, the next time I'm talking about number 5 isn't the best Image series I read last year as well, but it is the best new launch I read from Image, and that would be Radiant Black Volume 1, Not So Secret Origin. Now, Kyle Higgins has done some work for DC in the past, but he's best known for his tenure on Power Rangers for Boom. Radiant Black, the impression I got from it was basically, it's basically Power Rangers with the serial news filed off from Higgins and artist Marcelo Costa. It's about a guy he's aspiring writer, but things go bad for him, and he winds up having to move back home with his parents and hang out with his best friend, just like he had just never succeeded in life up to this point. And then he is contacted by this cosmic consciousness, and he winds up getting like, hey, like Sentai powers, like this, like he can, like his character can, like he can control gravity. So now he can be a superhero. This is great, and especially when, hey, a red variant of it's of his power set shows up in the town as well and starts robbing banks. So this sounds great. I mean, it sounds like a perfectly serviceable superhero story. And you know what? For the first half of the volume, it is. It's like, but also it's serviceable in like the fun, invincible style way, in the sense that it's dealing with someone who gets all the the fundamentals of the genre right, and reminds you, hey, this is why I like superhero stories and why I'm going to keep reading them. But then as things go on, well, it's like then the rug starts getting pulled out from under you. So because at one point I realized, hey, you know what? Hey, why is it always like the unassuming, non-threatening main character who gets the powers? Why isn't the best friend who's always about, oh man, it's like this is so cool, man. It's like, what I'd do with these powers. Like, why doesn't this guy get the superpowers and all? Well, turns out Higgins had me covered there. He had considered this, and well, like there's like stuff happens in like towards the end of the main story in this volume, and in fact, like he's also thought about how like even the villains, or the Red Radiant, who's made out to be like the bank robber in this story. Well, turns out that even she's got her story, and like she's also the hero in her story as well. So yeah, people are complex, and there's like more than one way to view any situation. And while I'm not 100% sold on the idea of like building a big superhero like universe out of this like series just based on the first volume, I will say that I'm willing to give it a chance based on the strength of this first volume. I will definitely say I'm absolutely on board for the Red Radiant miniseries that's being spun off from this, because yeah, it's like she's got all sorts of stuff to say here as well. And but moving on to it's like to the number 4 slot. Well, it's like we're going back to thoroughly grounded characters and situations, and that also have a twist to them, stuff that I didn't quite see coming. And this is Wave, Listen to Me, because hey, the creator of Blade of the Immortal, Hiroki Samura, has been knocking it out of the park with with his subsequent series, Wave, and also Die Vergelder, which I'm very much looking forward to reading the next 2-in-1 omnibus next year, because even though it was supposed to come out this year, well, I guess stuff happens, and as long as I'm a patient man because volume two was so great. It was like the number it was number two pick on my 2019 list. But Wave Listen to Me did a great job this year in terms of, like, well, just the fact that I finally got to read stories after volume three, because initially Kodansha released volumes one, two, and three digitally, and then they started simulpubbing the the uh, the issues that some are released in Japan with the U.S., but they didn't actually release the volumes. Um, then in 2020, they finally started releasing the volumes volumes one, two, and three in print. And then starting this year, we finally got to read volume four um, for the first time in print and in digital. It's like this year. And it's like reading about aspiring radio star Minari Koda. It's like, and her, it's like it's like her self-destructive like quest to become, hey, I want to become a radio star, even if I'm, it's like even if I'm just like, just like very loud and abrasive and just, like kind of crazy towards the other people that I meet. It's like it's like it's entertaining. It's like, and basically it's like the irreverence and character development sides that some are displayed in the Blade of the Immortal. Well, he's pushing those forward here. And while it'd be fun just to see, like, Minari just, slowly claw her way up towards radio superstardom on her own terms, well, someone realizes that, that's not exactly what we have here. That's not, that by itself, isn't entertaining stuff. You need to give something more. Like say when like Minare, and Minare and her assistant and the writer, it's like, who's reluctantly working with her, decide to go to a like small Japanese town to do research for the writer's latest novel, and he gets some material from Minari's new show. Well, they figure out, hey, let's see what it's going to be like. We don't actually expect them to, like, fall down a trapdoor and become prisoners of a cult who is, like, trying to bring back the prominence of radio to Japan, maybe even through some, like, brainwashing of their own. It's like it's a re it's a weird, crazy twist that I didn't see coming, but also made for, like, thoroughly entertaining reading, and seeing how it played out, and not just in the context of the arc that it was a part of, but also in the sense that it has additional, like, ongoing consequences to Minari's life, long, like, after it's wrapped up as well. Like, and also in volume seven, when it looks like we're getting a standard story about Minare, like, helping a shut-in, like, reconnect with the outside world. Well, turns out that that Summer also has plans, like, hey, nope, we're not doing, we're not doing that straightforward as well. It's like, we're actually gonna draw on some real world stuff as well. It's like, and I'm not gonna give that stuff away specifically, but it's like, it's like, even though it's like, I kind of worry about, like like some are doing, like, oh, we're doing another arc, but then something, this is going to happen as well. It's like, I worry about, like, the maybe the long-term effects of that, this kind of storytelling, but at the same time, what he's gotten out of it so far, especially with the volumes released this year, has been really great. It's like, and I'm definitely very much looking forward to seeing what he does next. Same goes for what I'm looking forward to, our writer for our number three pick, which is like a two two series in one, like, pick for this thing, because really it's like, I think that, like, he's basically, like, moving one stuff from one series into another, and I'm talking about Al Ewing over at Marvel, basically moving all of his plots from Guardians of the Galaxy over to Sword. That, because basically with like, Ewing has done, like, great work at Marvel over the years. I picked his New Avengers like stories as one of the best. It's one of my favorite comics, like, a couple years back, and this is before he hit it big with as the writer of the Immortal Hulk. But unfortunately, it shows that even with like a blockbuster series at its back, he can't quite, like, get everything he does, everything is, I can't quite turn to gold, and that's why his Guardians of the Galaxy wrapped up after 18 issues, which is sad because volume 2 specifically was fantastic. Aside from, like showing it's like what everyone was, it's like what things were, what everyone was going on with in the wake of the Empire crossover, and what happened to Peter Quill after he was dead, and how he basically wound up being reborn as an actual Star Lord, and how that actually wound up being like key to the Kingdom Black crossover issue, and the and how everyone like came back together. It's like, to face off against the reborn like Olympian lords in the final issues of Volume 2. It's like it was like thoroughly entertaining, just the kind of like clever stuff that I love reading from Marvel. The sense that, hey, like just taking all sorts of like random stuff and that's been built up in this past of the series, but also just like showing out how, hey, maybe all this stuff can work towards like a new interpretation of a character or characters going forward. It's like it was fantastic, and like seeing this stuff carried forward into his run on Sword, which is like the Sentient Worlds Observation Division, which is basically now the mutant like space like uh mutant space division. I love seeing that done as well. It's like, and even though Sword is wrapping up with its second volume, and that's I kind of wish that Ewing just even like had gotten the chance to like explore all this stuff across one title. But like, I get the feeling he's going to be like he's paying all this stuff forward into the new his latest X-Men title, X-Men Red, which we'll be talking about Planet Arakko, or basically like what Mars is like now that it's been terraformed by the X-Men and made into a home for the Arakko mutants. So yeah, it's like I love this. It's like, and definitely want to see what Ewing does next on this series. Hopefully, he'll be able to get a chance to do this for more than 11 to 18 issues. Yeah, but as far as like long term games go, well, my number 2 pick has been basically playing the long game, like ever since volume one, ever since volume 1, ever since its first issue, to the point where it's like even though like I've enjoyed reading volumes of the series individually on their own terms, I've increasingly had this nagging feeling that, wow, I should be rereading every volume of this series before I read a new volume of it, because I can think there's a lot of stuff like being set up here that is meant to pay off in the long term. And you know what? I was right, because this is a series that um I did take the time to reread all 5 volumes before I read volume 6. And even though it took me a long ass time, much longer than I was expecting to reread these 5 volumes, rereading them before I got to volume 6 was very much worth it, because Marjorie Liu and Sana Takeda are absolutely knocking it out of the park with Monstrous. Just like the story of Micah Halfwolf, and while she has a plan to maybe save herself and save her world. Like, well, everyone else in her world also has plans for her as well. From her, it's like from her long dead mother to her ancient arcanic wolf grandmother, to the like to the court, like to the empire who wants to like utilize her powers to their own ends, to her father who wants to like do the same, and even her lover, who is like, she's like she definitely loves her, but like, she's also like bound to the like the whims of her, like of her seat of power, the Dusk Court. So there's all sorts of like, like there's like all sorts of long term like, like plans going on here. And rereading all 5 volumes of first 5 volumes before reading volume 6, um yeah, it's like it made everything that happened in volume 6 a lot clearer. Even though like, there were like on volume 6, I also had the 2 talk story issues, basically like, stories about Kippa and like how she and her sister tried to make a great family dinner that also has like tragic undercurrents, because nothing with Kippa can ever be just entirely wholly happy. And also like the story about how Micah once fled with her their arcanic fish friend to a story to try to go to an island that would be free of like all the people who wanted to manipulate her. It's like, and she wound up basically getting the best summer vacation ever, which is great. But even then, the issues themselves also did a good job of showing us what happens when, hey, Micah winds up coming in contact with both her lover, her aunt, her grandmother. It's like, and also the Empire's plans to try and take them all out. Like, it's on one hand, it's like it's great, it makes for great drama, makes for great action, and even there are some moments when when, surprise, surprise, Mike actually gets the upper hand. It's like when you think that, oh man, this is great. Maybe she'll actually stop suffering for like 5 minutes in this story. And even though like yeah, like this is that's a good thing. Volume 6 basically ends on a major cliffhanger, but in the sense that it's like I think I probably would have felt a lot worse about this cliffhanger if I hadn't reread all the previous volumes and realized that this is all cyclical. Like like Micah's like she's gonna struggle. Like everyone is going to struggle in this series because even the bad guys struggle, which is great. And it's like and I love that. And it's like even though it's like volume 6 ends like really badly for Micah, ah man, it's like I still have the feeling that she's gonna come back. Like then she's gonna come back stronger than before, and I want to see that. 'Cause, like, I guess that's kind of what's kind of like driving my anticipation for Volume 7. Because I mean I read the solicitations like for the series like every month. I know that oh, this is gonna be bad, but at the same time like I see it's a bad situation for Micah right now, but the series basically lets you know that, oh, like there's hope. Like it's gonna be things are better now, but it's gonna be better because that's the way the series goes, and I like that. And what can top that? Well, how about a story about a creator who was basically established himself for doing one thing, but proves really adept at doing something else, showing that there is more to him than than the uh, than the gory crowd pleasing antics that he's best known for. I'm talking about Tatsuki Fujimoto, who yeah, you'll know him like for cause like hey, I did a podcast about him at the beginning of last year with Steve, how we talked about how much we liked his series Fire Punch. And I mean it's not the greatest series, but it's a series that we respect because it takes lots of big swings and does a lot of stuff differently from from other titles. And and as I grow older, it's like I kind of respect that a lot more than just stuff that just goes through the motions. I mean, just even if you're just like going to do something like weird and strange, do like swing as big as he does here. But in the end, like he's achieved his greatest success with Chainsaw Man. It's like the story of like a of a high school kid who was who is friends with with a chainsaw demon, dies and is and bonds with this demon in order to become like the character known as like a become the chainsaw devil that is promptly snatched up by the public safety division and its leader Machina to take out all sorts of demons. It's like, and it's like, hey, like sorry, stories about like teenagers who fight demons. It's like in manga are just kind of like the Japanese equivalent of like the lawyer, cop, or doctor show. It's like over here in America. But there's also this, but there's this like awful, but like sense of fatalism and it's like and like and Kobe sounds like gore to sick chainsaw man apart from the rest of the Shonen Jump pack. But like my pick isn't Chainsaw Man. I mean, I like it. I love it really. It's like, but it's not my favorite. But it's really the one shot that Fujimoto did while he was knocking that series out on a weekly basis, I imagine, for Shonen Jump. This would be my favorite pick of this year for number one lemon swat is Look Back. It's a story of a. It starts off as a story of a it's like of a fourth grader named like Fujino, who makes these like really really well liked like 4 panel manga strips. And while everyone in her class loves these strips, her teacher basically asks, "Yeah, would you be willing to give one of your slots over to this like this one girl who wants to try writing for the school magazine, and she doesn't come to school and all, but she wants to give it a shot." And Fujino is kind of like, "Yeah, sure." I mean, like if she's not going to come to school, like what do I have to worry about? But then when she sees these 4 panel strips, like the art is just like phenomenal. It's like next level stuff, and she's driven to try and find a way to compete with that. And at first you think this is going to be like a story about like her trying to find a way to be the best that she is. It's like, and like how is she going to be a better mangaka than this like shut in who just doesn't come to school and just like makes great art. But this is a series that takes a lot of unexpected turns from the encounter when Fujino encounters like the like this artist Kyomoto, like who's like the she's one who's been like who she's been like since she's been competing against. But then when she finally meets her, she realizes that okay, it's like this is what I want to do. It's like, and they work together in order to make it's like in order to make manga as well. And then it's like, well, real life gets in the way, and then tragedy gets in the way. And then when Fujino tries to deal with this, well, then things get weird. Then then like either it's like we get like a vision of what might have been. It's like, or she rewrites things in her head, and like she tries to process what's happened in her on her own terms. It, there's some room for interpretation about how this story plays out, but ultimately it's a story about what it means to create. Like whether like you're making manga, it's like or just like you're writing, it's like or just like or doing like blogs or podcasts. It's like why do you do what you do when you're just not creating, not consuming, but creating something. And I think the series like did a good job of hitting home, of like hitting at the cost that creation involves. It's like, but also illustrating its rewards as well. But how it's like it's like it's never just about you. How it's ultimately about the connections you make, like all along this line. I felt it like it got me really. It's like I was invested in the story. It's like, and just like rereading it again, like hey, it's like there's a reason I wrote up my thoughts about it earlier this week. Ahead of this podcast, because I wanted to say put get that get down some words specifically about how that but how well the series this one shot worked for me. And on one hand, I'm a little bit disappointed by the fact that the only way you can read it legitimately is by shelling out for visits on Shonen Jump subscription service. But at the same time, it's only like it's like $2 a month. So there you go. There's that. So it's kind of still kind of dirt cheap. And I really hope that Viz does the right thing and releases it in print, because it has been released in print in Japan, like as well. I mean, I saw it the last time I was at Kunikunya, and man, I would have bought that in an instant if an English edition had been released. And hopefully, that's in the offing for 2022. But we're not done with this year yet, because hey, what's the best this year without the worst this year? And unlike last year, like years past, like it's like I don't think we don't have any like manga that's like really sticking up the joint this year. I mean, there are some stuff that like I've moved over to my to sell pile, none quicker than something like, say, The Scumbag by Rick Remender and his artistic collaborators, which, you know, is meant, on one hand, is meant to be about, like the worst person in the world who gets like, who gets like James Bond's level superpowers. And but it's a depressing, unfunny, cheap story that doesn't actually, that even though its character's position is like the worst person in the world, doesn't actually like it doesn't actually like do like, worst level person in the world level stuff. It's like it's a cheap, safe kind of story about, badness, and that was really kind of depressing. But it wasn't the worst thing I read last year. No, I guess, like the worst thing I read this year is like a superhero story that basically um promised a lot of stuff and ultimately didn't deliver. It's like, and basically made me feel like I'd wasted my time and I should just like, chuck all of my volumes of this. I had read of this series up to this point, into the to sell pile. Nope. That would be Nick Spencer's Amazing Spider-Man, a series that started out being like, good, good Spider-Man style fun, in the sense that, hey, it shows like, Peter Parker, oh man, he's got such bad luck that he not only to lose his company like in between runs. It's like, well, he also having to repeat like college as well in order to get his degree back. But and well, like I think that when Spencer is doing funny Spider-Man, um like it's pretty good. But when he's doing serious Spider-Man, it's like, well, nope. Um, I'm losing my faith in this. And this year, well, it's basically been nothing. Not only has it been nothing but serious Spider-Man, it's also been him just basically trying to rewrite a lot of like Spider history as well, to the point where like this final arc involved, it's like involving this like the two like several different versions of the Sinister Six like at war with each other. Basically, it's like, it's just, he's just been trying to rewrite Spider continuity to the point where it's like all the stuff that everyone had issues with, like especially the like Norman Osborn having sex with Gwen Stacy business from J. Michael Straczynski and Mike Diodato's Sins Past arc. Well, it's like, that's that didn't happen as well. It's just, I don't know. It's like, it just feels like he's like he was just using his story not to just like tell great new stories, but just like to fix stuff like from the past, and in a very ham-fisted way as well. It's why I like, while I'm still reading this on Marvel Unlimited, like, the reason I do that is because, reading stuff on Marvel Unlimited is, effectively free for the most part, as far as after you pay the initial subscription cost for it. But as far as actually, do I want any of this stuff in my library anymore? No, no, I do not, and you shouldn't either. And that being said, I am kind of like looking forward to the fact that, Zeb Wells, the writer of Hellions, is taking over Spider-Man full time next year. So yeah, it could be a, like Peter's life story could be back in my good graces next year. But as of right now, it's like Amazing Spider-Man is kind of like, all the stuff like that annoys me, frustrates me, and angers me about like about comics. And yeah, I'm still reading it, but you shouldn't really. It's like, I'm just putting this through this because like, hey, because I can, because it's free, because like I pay for this. I pay for like all sorts of like comics in addition to this one. So yeah, but don't bother with this. You really shouldn't. And but it's like, hey, you don't want to end on like, this downer note of of like how bad like Amazing Spider-Man is right now. But what do we got to look forward to for next year? Well, we've got the final volume of The Girl from the Other Side, which I was hoping to cover like this year, but then when volume 11 wraps up the main story arc, volume 12 is supposed to be like the final like collect like additional side stories from the main creator, Nagabe. It's like I want to like figure to see like, if that added anything to the experience as well. There's also Fumio Yoshinaga's final volume of like what if feudal Japan was a matriarchy, Oku. It's like, and hopefully it's like that series won't be like as depressing as certain other volumes of this series have been as well. And while I think that Remender's Rick Remender's the scumbag was very disappointing. Um, his Deadly Class for Image has generally been a consistent delight, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how he and Wes Craig wrap that series up, like for its final volume. Also, Jonathan Hickman is taking off from X-Men, regrettably early, but he's doing it with a story that's basically meant to wrap up all of his loose plot threads with Inferno. It's like, and hopefully they'll get Rob back to talk about this when it happens. Also, Christine Jess and Matthew Roberts, Manifest Destiny. Basically, what if Lewis and Clark ran into a bunch of X Files during their expedition over like um, over the Louisiana Purchase? Well, that's also wrapping up next year as well. I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes as well. Also like to see Hickman and Mike Holston's Decorum wrap up as well, because that might be happening, but it's like, but apparently like the whatever final issue needs to complete its story is taking a while to come out as well. But hopefully we'll see that happen next year as well. In the near future, though, you can look forward to it's like to me and Rob talking about the Immortal Hulk. It's like next time out. Also, I've got plans to talk about Brian Azzarello and Eduardo Risso's where werewolves and and moonshiners and mobster story on Moonshine. It's like, and also Star Wars has a big crossover they wrapped up recently with that's the War of the Bounty Hunters that I want to get get going on as well at some point. Oh, and also uh, Akira Hiromoto's like his fan service fan service fan service heavy style gets a superhero workout in Raw Hero, and the final volume of that is coming out in February as well. And I'll probably talking about that. It's like once the final volume comes out as well. So yeah, it's like lots of stuff to look forward to. It's like in the near, it's like and not so near future as well.
Well, it sounds like it's going to be a barrel of laughs. Actually, a lot of good stuff. A little bit of good reading here and there.
Absolutely, man. It's like we got things planned out for the next couple months, as well. Maybe not through not to Fanime at least, but hey, it's like we got plans.
Sweet. See you. What a great summary there. The Lois and Clark. What is it, Lois and Clark? Sorry, I'm thinking of Lewis and Clark. My brain just went to the left there for a minute. Okay, so that sounds pretty interesting. It's X-Files. Okay, yeah. So that kind of sounds very interesting. Anyway, so that's pretty much your summary. Do you know what you're going to be talking about next time?
Yeah, but basically, it's like I need to run things by Rob, but chances are we'll be talking about the Immortal Hulk next time out.
Nice. Okay, everyone. Thank you for dropping by. Comic Picks by the Glick.
Laters.